and welcome back to another episode of Living Local Lombard. I am your host, Aaron Carlson, and joining me today is Ric Gruber Jr., owner and general counsel at Billy Brick's Wood-Fired Pizza here in downtown Lombard. This to die for restaurant has been a downtown Lombard delicacy for over 15 years, which is more than half my lifetime. Get a couple of Billy Brick's wood-fired pizzas, one of their fresh tossed salads, maybe some cannoli, a scoop of pistachio gelato, and I promise you, you will be a happy camper. So Ric, first and foremost, thank you so much for coming on this show and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so to start off, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, a little bit about your background. I know you have a couple of different ventures on your resume. So just give us the rundown.
Yeah, so 15 years ago, I was actually in college at that time. And I got a call from my parents who said, when you come home, we're going to have a restaurant. We're opening a restaurant. And so my initial question was, does anybody know how to run a restaurant? And apparently my stepfather, who's Billy, had decades of experience in the restaurant and bar business prior to, my being even born. So it was a whole lifetime that we didn't know much about because he had been in other ventures for my whole life. So, I guess it was in his blood and he wanted to get back to doing it. We went on a family vacation in San Diego where I was playing baseball, and he tried, and we all tried, wood-fired pizza for the very first time. And he was obsessed and was, had to do it. He's like, if we bring this to our area, nobody's doing this. This is going to be like a game changer because this is going to be the next big thing. Everyone in Chicago loves pizza, and this is a very unique style. So, that was kind of how that started. So at the time, I was playing baseball in college in Connecticut, and planned on teaching, which I did for a little while. And then when I came home, I had to take the certification exam. So I kind of had a decision to make. Was I going to go into a master's program, or was I going to go to law school? And I actually ended up going to law school and becoming a licensed attorney. So I practiced for several years and still do. I'm active in Illinois and California. And then that training has been super helpful in running our business, especially as it grows. If we were just one location still, that probably wouldn't be nearly as important. But with multiple leases, over 100 employees, rent, disputes, just bank issue, just with everything, just being able to read through that type of documentation, and handling the issues that come up in day-to-day operations, because when you have so many stores, something pops up on a weekly basis somewhere. So, and as we expand, it takes a significant amount of the cost of opening off when you don't have to pay. My brother's a restaurant and bar architect, so he gives us kind of a family deal. So we pay a little less there. My mom's a CPA, and with myself being a lawyer, that saves us a lot of money when we go to open up a new business. So that's really helpful. And then it's funny, most people don't really check my resume and see my other ventures that I was in for a while, but they've led to a lot of creativity. And I think, thankfully, when I look back on those experiences, I wonder, what was I doing? Why was I doing this at that time before I came back into the restaurant full time about almost 5 years ago now? And I think without those experiences and that background, I don't think we would have been able to survive what we've been going through right now, because it's required creativity, social marketing, technology, all those things that I had my background in are things that we needed to, quote unquote, pivot, or were things that we were putting into place already, but this just accelerated the speed that we put them in place. Yeah. So, relaunching an online ordering platform directly into our POS a month and a half before COVID hit, talk about timing. So there were some things that we got really lucky at. I should say lucky. We were fortunate in the timing, but not lucky because we understood where we were at and where we needed to get to take the next steps. So I guess it's not all luck, because we did have a plan. But yeah, so my background, aside from being an IP attorney, I was the creative director of a digital agency that mostly focused in experiential marketing. So we put on a lot of events, professional conferences, street festivals and stuff. So from that though, came the idea like, hey, we need a food truck for our restaurant. Because I saw the opportunities because I was on the production side of those types of events and what it could do for the businesses. And as I was selling clients on their need to spend money or time in those efforts, how was I not doing that? I'm going to do that in my own business and say, because I knew what the return would be, and it was much higher because people are engaging directly with your team and with your product, whatever that product is, whether that's a beer or it's a pizza or it's a shoe or whatever, people still being able to hold something and have an experience to remember is the best thing for your brand. And for us, and you as a fan, the best thing for us is to get people to try our food, because if they try our food, I believe we have a customer, for life. So we just have to get them to try the food. So that's sort of my background. And the professional conferences we did were really fun. We started one called Fund Conference, and it was basically like our version of Shark Tank, where we brought exhibitors and then investors from all over the country together and had a large scale conference over 3 days and let people sort of pitch. And we brought thousands of people to that. And I believe at one point we had over $300 or $400 million had been invested in the companies that have gone through those. And it didn't all directly come from the action, the event, but it showed the quality of the business that we were vetting. So we weren't just letting anybody in. The businesses were so good that whether they got money through our conference or through others, people were seeing the value. So we brought really good companies. And then on top of that, we brought serious investors, people with real money that were serious about putting into startups. So that was really fun. And that led to my, my ability to help our business get capital to grow without taking on huge amounts of debt. We're a no debt company. So we were able to expand and have these more locations and see, I learned a ton about scale when I would see the businesses do that. So, that experience was awesome. And then the second conference that we really started, I sat there when we talked about fund, and I spoke to our board and I said, hey, I really think we should have a full day or a full track in this conference that's dedicated to investors investing in minority owned businesses. At that time, that message kind of was like a big thud, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, okay, but they'll still be at the conference, so that will just still be part of it. And I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time focusing on this. And I said, well, I think we do. They said, no, I don't think we do. So since they were the board, they kind of outvoted me. And I said, okay, well then we won't put that in fund conference, but I'm going to start a second conference that you guys don't have to be a part of, and we'll do it on a different time, and it will just be focused on that. So we, with my partners at the time, Michael Donnelly and Kevin, we decided to do Venture Forward, and we invited investors specifically to invest in minority, Black, female, Hispanic, and LGBTQ owned businesses, because we felt that people who were interested in investing in those types of founders, could come and have their own day, because otherwise you get kind of lost in the mix. So we brought that together, and that's still ongoing in a virtual context. And I actually I sold my reins to Michael because it's her passion now, and she's been continuing that. And again, I feel like we were kind of ahead of the game there. Now you gotta swat the money away. It's coming from so many directions. But I just found it kind of funny and ironic over the past year, as all these efforts and focus has come on that. And I just sit there and I go, well, where was this in 2015 and 2016 when we were trying. So hopefully that venture also, continues to grow as we get out of COVID and allows for people to gather again. I think now, we were just a little out of the curve. So I think the kind of theme for me has been starting with, my parents with the pizza. We're always slightly ahead of the curve, or we're trying to be ahead of it by innovating and getting there before others do. And I think we did that, because now you see wood-fired pizza and sort of brick oven pizza everywhere. So that means that's kind of fun because people, it's flattering. And number two, it meant, we were onto something, but it also means, okay, we got to step our game up because now there's a lot of other people in this space. It's crowded and we have to differentiate ourselves always. So that's been, I think the fun of it is that like, you can't just sit back. The restaurant and every business is constantly evolving. So I guess that's kind of a long-winded introduction, but that kind of explains my resume and where my focus is. And as and we're a predominantly female and minority-owned business. While my stepfather, who's Billy, is not. I'm part Mexican, and my mother is the other owner of the company, and she's obviously, so it's female and minority-owned. But it's not something that we like wear on our sleeve or put on the windows or do anything like that, because if that makes people support us or whatever, that's great. But really, you're not, you could love us for that, but if the food's not good and the service isn't there, it really doesn't matter. That's what it comes down to for us. So, so we don't, kind of advertise all that stuff, and we just hope people will come and try the food.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the food, talk about wood-fired pizza specifically, because that's kind of what started it all. And, that is really the game changer and the differentiator. Talk a little bit about like, what is wood-fired pizza and how is it different from like regular pizza or Chicago style pizza? Like, what makes it different for people that haven't tried it? And then specifically for you guys, what makes you guys, unique or, really step up your game in terms of quality?
Sure. If you're getting really nuanced, pizza has now been proliferated with categories, so you can kind of differentiate them. And on our side, sort of the pizza enthusiasts or the pizza experts, we can break things down more granularly. Every wood-fired, we call ourselves Neapolitan inspired because of our dough recipe and the temperature that we cook at. But we use toppings that aren't strictly Neapolitan. So like if you were going to be a certified Neapolitan pizzeria, like we couldn't do that because we offer house cheese. We have things like pineapple and chicken, which are a no-go. We make like a pizza sauce rather than just like a San Marzano or an Alta Cucina, which we have as an option. But we're not like strictly Neapolitan, but we're in that tradition. So not every Neapolitan or not every wood-fired pizza is a Neapolitan pizza. Not every Neapolitan has to be wood-fired. But there's standards, your cooking temperatures, the type of oven you use, and, so that differentiates. But any pizza that's cooked with a wood-burning oven is a wood-fired pizza. But within there are a lot of categories, and it really depends on your dough recipe, your ingredients, and then the temperature you cook at. For us, we cook between 750 and 900 degrees. It's only variable because you have a human throwing wood in there. So, you're keeping temperature and you're watching it, but like, again, it will have a variation. And you're talking a differential of 10 to 20 seconds of cooking. So it's not a huge differential when you're in that, sort of margin of error. But we cook it very, very hot. So I think that's one of the differences in the consistency. Ours is not this like a cracker. It's a very light, airy, a little bit more chewy on the crust rather than hard. It's a very unique texture and style.
I agree with that.
I do know that and I do know that for a long time, we probably went more artisan, more wood-fired than like more of the traditional Neapolitan. But now we do try to really hone in on that. So it has that fluffier crust with the leopard spotting, and it just has that pretty look to it that defines the style. Now, at all of our other locations, other than downtown Lombard, but the new year it's coming. It's a little trickier there because it's so small, and we don't have a very big oven there. So we have to, operationally figure out how to do new things there. We have a 16-inch pizza at our other stores now, and a 14, which is, unheard of. But we did that for two reasons. Number one, with COVID and everyone ordering out and feeding families, it's helpful. And it's been one of the two things that I would say we hear most frequently from people that are like our biggest enthusiasts, not just people that we don't have as customers, but enthusiasts will say, well, sometimes I like it just a little bit crispier. because our pizza, the 12-inch, is not made like that standard. You can certainly ask for it, and we do it. It's no problem, but it's not the standard. That's one thing. The other thing is, well, I love you guys, but for this thing, I needed something bigger. So we hear that quite a bit, and it's not enough to obviously like put us out of business, because we're experts at what we do, and people have obviously supported us for years. But it's something to add in new customers, and I think and get more business from our loyal customers. So we added in a 16-inch pie, and the really cool thing about it is, again, I think it puts us ahead of where our competitors are at. And number two, because we're not just making a big version of our littler pizza, I think it makes us super unique again. So when I mentioned that I went to college and played baseball, I went in Connecticut. Anyone who's ever been on the East Coast knows pizza is just as big there as it is here. And especially in Connecticut, where, I think you have the world's best pizza with New Haven style pizza. That's the original coal and wood-fired brick ovens outside of New York. We're in New Haven, Connecticut at Frank Pepe's, which is 96 years old, and they have their own style of pizza there that they make.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's really cool, and the guys are from Naples that started doing this there. So it comes from the Neapolitan lineage of pizza. They just made them larger, and they cook them slightly longer at a lower temperature, so they get really crispy and they get big and they're beautiful. But they use the same dough. You use the same dough, same type of ingredients, because these were guys from Naples making their American version of the Neapolitan pizza that they loved from their home country. So I think it keeps us in tradition. We don't have to change very much, but it allows us to satisfy another customer and make something that's truly unique. Because as of right now, there's only one pizzeria that I know of in the state of Illinois that makes a true New Haven style pizza other than us now. So again, when we came into Illinois, there was only about 5 brick ovens in the whole state, and now they're everywhere. And now that we're making a New Haven style pizza, a lot of places decided to put Detroit style as their second option. And I was like, no, we don't ride other people's coattails or piggyback on their ideas. We're going to do something. And this is something that's like near and dear to me, because, other than our pizza, that is my favorite pizza in the whole world. There's nothing like a Sally's or a Frank Pepe's New Haven style pizza. The crunch is just awesome. So we're offering that now, and it will be soon into downtown Lombard as well, but it's at all of our other stores right now.
I was just going to ask, can I run out and get one today? You have me
sold.
sold.
If you ask Jose and you say, hey, Rick told me to come and get a 16-inch, he'll make one for you.
Okay.
He can do it. They can do it today, but we don't have it we don't have it on the menu, because if we just got bombarded with them right now, the store isn't ready for it, and that's no fun for anyone. So yeah, that's, there's a lot of pizza geeking that can go on, but our what makes it unique is that it's just water, flour, salt, and yeast. It's very simple, very clean, very light. A very healthy option, honestly. Our margarita pizza only has about 450 calories. So if you're on a low-cal diet, you can have a whole pizza to yourself. And
it's true. I studied abroad in Rome, and like I would eat a whole pizza for a meal, and you would still leave and be like, oh, I feel like I could have another one or two. Whereas, you have a slice of deep dish and you're in a food coma for 2 days. So
yeah. Oh yeah. That's a gut buster.
So, okay. So we talked about the pizza, and you did mention, some differences between your locations. What are your locations? And then you also talked about the food truck. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm going to pull this up right now on my computer here, so I don't forget something, which is kind of a cool situation to be in. We have our first franchise that we sold, brick and mortar, is in Elgin. So that's the only one that's not our family owned. That's a brick and mortar store, but they are coming from Lombard, and also from some of our very first customers ever at our original location. So it is a family owned and operated business, and we were willing to do that because we're going to franchise, and we're sticking to people who are going to operate them just like we do. It needs to be a family business. It's not going to be big investors coming in and opening up 10, because that doesn't help. We want it to be, what we've built. So we have that store. We have our newest location is in LaGrange. We have obviously downtown Lombard, which is number one. We have our second Lombard store, which is over by Yorktown, and it's right on the border of Downers Grove. So if you cross the street in any direction, you're Downers Grove, but we're technically a Lombard address, so it's Lombard 2, the Yorktown Highland Avenue store. We have one in Mount Prospect, in the Mount Prospect Ice Arena. That one is more of like a kiosk type situation, but it's a beautiful restaurant. And we serve the ice arena, and they have lots of tournaments and practice and stuff. It's really cool. We have the Naperville location, Oak Park, which is in downtown Oak Park. We have one in West Dundee inside of the Life Zone 360. That was originally a family-owned store, and we ended up selling it as a franchise to the facility because they're just there to operate it, more frequently and it's very far for us. So we kind of turned over the keys to them and converted it into a franchise. But it's inside of that sports facility, which is a super cool place. And then we have our second store, which was Billy Bricks Wheaton, right in downtown Wheaton. And then the food truck we actually have three. We have the big truck, which is we call Wheels One. It's all glass. It's very cool. Yeah, it's an all glass truck, so you can see everything. It's basically a mobile. For being someone, the kitchen space inside of this truck is it's like basically in a semi truck. It's bigger than the downtown Lombard store. So it's really cool. It's very unique. We do a lot of weddings and other types of festivals and stuff with that truck. Very cool. Then our second truck.
I see it.
Yeah, awesome. That's Wheels One. Wheels Two is a franchise truck. Our former director of operations franchised the truck because he wanted to do his own. And it's more of a traditional looking food like box truck. And then our third one, Wheels Three, is a trailer that we pull with a full-size oven, though. It's huge. The oven's huge compared, and it gets pulled by like a little U-Haul truck that we have all the equipment inside of and stuff. So that one, our big truck is so heavy that there's places that it can't go because it's so big. So this allows us a little more flexibility there and allows us to have a secondary booking. So like if we're booked for a big festival and someone calls us for a block party in Lombard, we can still do it because we have the trailer oven that we can go with. So we found that we were turning away a lot of those smaller or last minute events because we didn't have something that sort of fit. It would be not big enough to do with the truck because it would already be booked somewhere else. And so we were turning down a lot of stuff that we really wanted to do, and not just for the money. We didn't want to turn them down because they're community events. We want during the summer, especially on Saturday with in a normal summer where we have the cruise nights and the store is so busy, a lot of our regular customers can't even get there. So, we're very busy, but with all the people at the cruise night, we would love for people to set up an event somewhere else or do the block parties and be there at a block party every Friday, Saturday night, so, and that just builds community, and that's, really important to us. So we got that other oven, and it was, everything was going great until COVID, obviously, because it shut stuff down. But, people wanting to do more things outside, more bringing things to you because you can't go inside the restaurants and all that. The mobile units have been kind of a lifesaver for a lot of, like, not losing every one of those events. But the big public events, obviously, were all canceled. And then our newest store, which is set to open by the first of the year, is going to be in Clearwater, Florida.
Oh.
So we have that store opening in Florida. And then we are also have our eyes, we have a project going in a few other places, but they're not strictly Billy Bricks. But we do have a Billy Bricks that's probably going in Siesta Key the following year. And then we're looking at one in Tampa. So we are expanding to Florida, and those will also be family owned.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea. I bet a lot of people in Lombard have no idea that you've done so much growing and outreach. Why?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is because, Billy, and I'll just refer to him as Billy instead of saying my dad or my stepdad or whatever. I'll just say Billy, is that Billy is not that type of person to let you know, like, he's not a bragger. He's not a self-promoter. He's kept his head down and done the work and taught us and built the company. And he's just not someone who's going to go out there and wear it on his sleeve or show it off or whatever, you would never know what he has built. And that's one of the several reasons why I updated the name. One was from a legal standpoint, to be able to go in all 50 states with the name. And number two was to put his name on there, because I said, Bricks is Bricks and people know it, but it's become generic because there's so many places named that all around the country. I said, Billy is really what puts the heart and soul into this company and built Bricks. So when we go other places, like, I want everyone to know that story, because outside of Lombard, many people aren't going to know. And as time goes on, less and less people see him at the stores, because he can't be everywhere. He's going to retire. So you don't want to take him. He needs to be a big part of that story and why you're still going there afterwards, because, that's what built it all. So I thought it was really important to put his name into the brand. So people will ask the question of, who's Billy? And then it's our job to let them know, what he did and started at 59 years old.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because I kind of grew up just knowing, Bricks, like downtown Bricks. And then it really wasn't until I started reaching out to folks to do this show that I saw it was Billy Bricks. And I really was like, oh, is that a person? Is that a founder? Is that just like a catchy name? But it's good to know that there is like heart and soul and homage to your father behind that. So from now on, I will call it Billy Bricks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's partly our fault, because half the company still answers the phone. Thank you for calling Bricks. How can I help you? Because there's, I think it's a testament to how many people have been with us for many, many years, and they have trouble breaking that habit. And of course, he's probably the worst at it. He tells everyone Bricks, and I'm like, your name is Bill, and it's Billy Bricks. Can you please just tell people the right name? And he's like, oh, well, it's Bricks to me. So,
yes.
So, so he's just as bad at it. But we're all trying to get there. My wife does it. She's like, oh yeah, our family owns Bricks. I'm like, it's Billy Bricks. So, we're probably the worst offenders.
Oh my God. How did you select the Lombard location and the town of Lombard for the original site?
So, it was actually a pretty, easy calculation for us. We had looked at a couple places. We were really excited when we finally opened the 7th store in Oak Park, because that was one of the places where we always wanted to go. And because I went to Fenwick, and at the time Bill worked in the Oak Park area before we opened the first store, we just was very familiar with that area and loved it, and was like, oh, this is a great downtown. We should definitely, look here, blah, blah, blah. But there wasn't the right opportunity there. So then we started looking elsewhere. And the original spot that was going to happen was in Evanston. But my mom nixed that, because she said the rent's a little high, and that's a lot of driving on you to Bill. You're going to be driving all the way up there. She's like, I know you're going to work open to close every single day. That's going to add 2 hours onto those days. Yeah. So your 12-hour day just turned to 14. You're never going to be home. You're never going to get a break. I think we should look somewhere closer. So the place where we had the intent, I guess, to open in Evanston, that went through, fell through. And the next up on the list was Lombard, because we lived in Elmhurst at the time. And there was some, because in Elmhurst, the rent is very, very high.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was not a lot of open spaces, because the city was really booming. So, we looked in the nearby locations, and Lombard was one of the most affordable downtowns to get into, especially when you're, opening up a brand new business on a hope and a prayer and a second mortgage. So you're trying to watch every dollar that you're going to spend and how you do that, as safely as possible, to not lose everything if it doesn't work out. So we picked Lombard. We actually got a lot of feedback and advice from the locals and other people telling us not to open there. Oh, everything comes in and out. A lot of there's so much turnover. The area is not built up. The area is not, all the things that I'm sure that a lot of people have said before, or, it's sort of the the old thinking or the thinking on downtown Lombard. And, we kind of said, like we normally do, to hell with that. We're going to open here. We're going to do what we are going to do with our product. We know we're going to blow people away with the quality of our food, the service that we're going to bring, the uniqueness of what we're bringing to the town. And we're going to be the anchor, so by being there, like, Bill kind of said, well, that's just because you don't have us yet, So in that sense, it's kind of like an arrogant way to look at it, I guess. But it was kind of the thought process of like, we're going to be so good that we're going to be the thing that brings people to the downtown and people can build up around. And to a large extent, I get absolutely zero credit for that. That's all him. But I do look around the downtown Lombard area now compared to what it was. And yes, there's been a lot of work from the Chamber of Commerce. Yes, there's been a lot of work from the village and people wanting to invest in the downtown area and not just over by Yorktown, and to really work on that. So it's certainly not just us or anything like that. But I think in order to have in order to build, you have to have examples of success. And I'm fairly certain that we were an example to a lot of people of, see what you can do here. If you really put your mind to it in downtown Lombard, you can really build. And as we continue to expand, I'm sure that's been an example of many people who have sold a location there or, gotten a lease or done whatever it was. Well, look at what they've been able to build out of downtown Lombard. And, similarly, Courageous Bakery, Laura had her very first sort of commissary. She used the back of our first store for her trucks, and now has multiple locations and multiple trucks. So there's a lot of amazing things that have come out of downtown Lombard because it's worked as a community, and everyone's kind of worked together to build up the downtown area to make it more of a destination. So we love downtown Lombard. Obviously, it's been very good to us, and just Lombard in general and the community. But that's really how we ended up there. And I'm pretty, when I look around and I see the amount of restaurants and other things that want to come in there and want to try downtown Lombard, one could say, oh, doesn't that pull away from, your business to have that more competition? Yeah, it does in the short term. But in the long term, it's good for the community to have more destinations and more things for people to go to and enjoy, because it just makes it a spot for more people. Maybe someone never knew about us, which happens a lot. Mm-hmm. And they go to try something new, and then they look across the street and they're like, oh, what's that place? Oh, it's been here that long? We should go there one night. Nice. And that happens. And you're not going to order from us 7 days a week. So, the more the merrier, and the higher the quality, the better. We love downtown Lombard, and we're really happy to see it sort of growing and expanding. And this year has just been a total bummer to see all that progress sort of just get put on pause.
Yeah. I so appreciate you kind of putting it in that perspective, because being younger and spending my whole life in Lombard, and having business degrees and business experience, I see that how there is like an old school way of thinking about the downtown, and that, anybody that dares open something or, decide to be an entrepreneur and start a business and open a storefront there, it really does, it kind of, people just act like there's a bad omen and that it's just doomed to fail. But I think that a lot of people just aren't having the right mindset, and that you do need to have that proactive long-term view on the downtown. And I mean, especially over the last, I would say 5 years, there has been a slow, sustainable growth of the downtown. What this year will do, time will tell. But it is good to have an anchor like you guys, and you are very big and present in the downtown, but you are that like subtle storefront. You're not bright and flashy and big and going, oh, we have all these locations and we do all this and we've grown so much. And I think that's the perfect kind of core storefront to have in the downtown, to show people that, you can do this, and that if the community comes out, supports these businesses, ultimately word of mouth will spread and we'll have a better chance of survival. And you'll get a network effect from it. So,
yeah, I mean, that's always been our big thing. It's one of our one of the beauties of our business, and also one of the things that's been takes us a little longer to build up when we open, is he has always been a huge proponent of the word of mouth being the greatest marketing tool. So, you're not going to open up with a big flashy bang, but we try, every person that finds us and walks through the door, we want to earn a customer that's going to tell someone else how great we are. And then over time, growing organically like that, you get a lot of, very, very loyal customers. And I think in Lombard, more than anywhere, you mention our name, people know it. Lombard and Wheaton in the Glen Ellen, in that little corridor where we started, it's amazing to me. Everybody knows us. Good or bad, everybody knows us. And that's really cool. And we're in Naperville also, but in Naperville, it's such a big town. Yeah, there's people that know us that work there, but most of them leave, halfway through the day, they go home. So the Naperville residents were not like as pervasively known. And so that's why the food truck has been huge for us, because I take it all around Naperville in the summer. And people are like, oh, this is great. Do you guys have any stores? Like, you live in Naperville? Yes, we have one in Naperville. We've been here for almost 7 years. And it's amazing that there's probably like 1% of people in Naperville that actually know we exist. So, Oak Park is another one that's a very big town, but it's more condensed than Naperville, is spread out. So I feel like it's taken us a few years there, but we're starting to become a household name there as well. And that's really what we enjoy, is becoming ingrained in these communities, ingrained in the sort of downtown areas, become a staple of the community, and, be oh yeah, we have one of those here. That's the fun of it. We just opened up in LaGrange, and it's been a slow start, obviously, because the dining room's closed, so it's hard to get, there's no foot traffic. And now that it's cold, nobody's out walking around. These are traditionally slower months to begin with. So, that's not helping. But I know that that's going to be a very similar community, very similar demographic, similar downtown, and had the same sort of stigma on some of the places. Oh, if you're not right here, you're going to have a lot of turnover. But then I've seen a lot of businesses that are there that have been there for decades. So I think if you're really committed to the town, you're really committed to the community, and you work hard at what you do to put out a good product and take care of your guests, I think you can make it pretty much anywhere.
I agree. Last question. I'll give you an
Sure.
easy one, hopefully. Two-parter. What is your most popular item, and what is your favorite item?
Oh, okay. So our most popular item, if we're just going by the numbers, is the build your own pizza, which is not really an item because everyone kind of makes it their own. But I would say the most popular selection by anyone is the ability to make their pizza what they want it to be. The second most popular is the pizza margherita. It's the most widely ordered pizza across all of our stores. Coming in right below that is the bricks, our namesake, which I don't know if we have to change that now, or if we should, or what we do with that pizza, but it's there. And then the barbecue chicken is also incredibly popular. And then my mom's namesake is moving up the leaderboard, the Donna's combo, which is, it's moving up. But my favorite pizza, because most of these have come from us creating them, I really enjoy all of them except for things with mushrooms, because I don't like mushrooms. But if I could have one pizza and that was all I could have, I would probably order the margherita with sausage on it.
Okay.
Because I love the margherita pizza. I love its simplicity. I love all the flavors. I don't need all that stuff. When I go to a place for the first time to try a pizza that I don't know, I always order a cheese pizza. Because I say, that's where you can't hide your mistakes. If I want to taste that, if you can't get that right, like a fastball down the middle, then I don't want to try all the fancy stuff to cover up, what you're doing. But I will say that our sandwiches are, the not so hidden secret of our store, because we use par-baked bread. So your bread gets baked fresh on every single order in less than 30 seconds, which is incredible. So the outside gets nice and crispy and the inside is nice and soft. So that's always been the secret. And the downtown Lombard store, I don't know why it's this way, but it is. sells more sandwiches than any other store by far. Like a crazy amount of sandwiches. And Jose will say it's because of him. I say it's because I was the original sandwich guy. So I built, decades long customer loyalty for the skill that I put into those sandwiches and the love. So, but so I take full credit for that. And I say, because Bill was the salad guy when we opened Wheaton, that store sells more salads than any other store. So I say, well, the sandwiches because of me and the salads are because of you at Wheaton. But really, it's the consistency of 15 years of having Jose sort of in that store and now been running that store and making sure that the standard is always met of where we started and hasn't, we haven't gone off of that. So that's a huge thing, is consistency. So our second two most popular selling items out of that store, and then across all of them, is the chicken pesto sandwich. We were on the news for that one. And now you'll see chicken pesto sandwiches pretty much on everyone's menu, which is kind of funny.
True.
But that's probably our number one or number two seller. And then the Italian grinder is by far the most popular sandwich at all of our stores. But downtown Lombard sells a ton of tuna every day. We come in, every store that I walk through, and I got this from Bill, I take a spoon and I take a little bit of the tuna and I try it. It's a little bit of snack to get me through. So I'm not, because we're never eating, we're just normally grazing. Mm-hmm. So I try a little bit of the tuna. It does two things. It satisfies my hunger for a little bit, and it also makes sure that I'm checking the tuna everywhere that I go to make sure that it's fresh. So that's a thing that he does. But he also checks the ice cream at every store, and I don't do that. So he eats all the ice cream. Yeah, you can tell what kind of day he's having by how many bowls of ice cream he eats when he comes into the Naperville store on his last stop. You can tell if it's been a good day or a bad day.
I love it. So as I mentioned, I'm going to go out now and get several pizzas and sandwiches. So on that note, Rick, thank you so much for taking time to speak with me and with Lombardians and everyone in the towns around. I will be sure to link to your site in the bio of this video. And everyone, please go try Billy Brick's wood-fired pizza.
That's right.
It is thebomb.com. It is unique, and you will be a loyal customer after you try it. So Rick, once again, thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.